Hello there, friends. This is Chris from the Monkey Business Crew. And for a long time now, as we've been together, FC3, Flower City Comic-Con, and the Mighty Monkey Corporation, we have strove very hard to not be political. We make our underhanded comments once in a while. We make our little observations, and we pat ourselves on the back for being funny. But today I'm going to have to say something, because in recent weeks, since the last time we recorded, and the last time we had a chance to talk about all things geek and fun, our political discourse gained itself a body count. Now, this has happened several times in the history of the world, but in recent memory, it has been uncommon. So I'm driven to say something right now, and that is we've forgotten one thing. Whether you're liberal or Democrat or conservative or Republican or in the middle or on the extreme, it doesn't matter. We're all still Americans, and we seem to have forgotten that lately. So it's okay to disagree. Just remember that. You can be any political party you want or not a political party. You can be in favor of Star Wars or Star Trek. You can be in favor of Doctor Who over Blake 7. You can have stances on issues, and it's okay. Just remember that we're all in this together, and the important thing is to remember to listen and talk rather than just be angry and hate.
Welcome to another episode of Monkey Business. I am one of your hosts, Tanya. We have the legendary Billy DeTore with us.
Hi.
And then we have Rob and Zach at the other end of the studio.
Hi.
Hello.
And we have Dolly.
Hello.
And Ian.
Hello.
And instead of being on the phone, she's actually up in Rochester today. We have Sherry.
Hello.
And then behind me, we have Chris and Alana.
Hello.
So we have a fairly packed studio,
Chris.
and then I am your host,
Chris.
Chris. That was me being all philosophical, and now we're going to get into the all things geeky and fun. We're going to go back to the business at hand.
That was a little serious.
Well, it had to be said, and here's the thing. When you have a platform, no matter how small that platform may be, it's irresponsible to completely ignore what's going on out there. So I was thinking to myself this morning, and I'm like, I have to at least say something, because I know we reach out to quite a few people now. We don't have thousands upon thousands of fans, but we have people who are spread across the country, and they're listening. So
And the Globe, Danny and
we have our buddy Danny. Hey, Danny, this one's for you, buddy. We're going to have him call in one of these days. Seriously. Now, Dolly, I'm going to admonish you real quick, because you have this habit, because I've been listening to the past couple of recordings. When you're going to go talk to the microphone, get right in on it. You got to be almost like making love to it.
Oh, God. You do realize that somebody else has that microphone during.
Well, notice what I'm not in on this one too.
Microphone, you're with everybody that microphone's
ever been with, but still.
I think
all right, so what are we talking about today? We're talking about today. We're doing another Not a Book Club.
Not a book club.
We're doing another Not a Book Club.
I think Ian was the one that suggested this TV show.
Yes, it was. Yeah. This particular show that we're going to talk about today came from the
Bouncing Baby Boy.
The Bouncing Baby Boy, who is now just shy of 6'3". I don't know where he gets his height.
That boy bouncing.
I don't know where he gets his height from.
Shaq. Your mom.
Not my mom.
Not your mom.
My poor mother. I'm going to take
5'2".
My mom's. My mom and I were standing next to each other, and somebody took a picture of the two of us, and they cut me off from the shoulders up. All right, so I have to post that one somewhere along the line.
Your poor mother.
Yeah. So anyway, today we're going to talk about a show that is no longer being made. It was on the SyFy channel for quite a few years. It was Warehouse 13. Which, who was describing it earlier? It was like one part Friday the 13th, one part Indiana Jones.
In the place where all the stuff that vanishes in your laundry goes.
Yes, yeah. So there's probably a whole aisle in the warehouse that's just of socks. Missing socks. Yeah. Now, who are our stars? We have Eddie-mcclintock, Joanne-Kelly, Rubinek. Excuse me.
Allison-Scagliotti.
Yeah. And cch-pounder. Those are the big names.
To a lesser degree, Genelle-Williams and aaron-ashmore.
Okay, and Aaron-Ashmore comes in a couple of seasons. And then their nemesis was played by that British gentleman who passed away recently.
Roger Rees.
Thank you, Roger Reeves.
Hi.
Roger Rees.
She's
got her
homework.
She printed out her IMDb page.
Not everything.
Look at that! I got a screen over here now. I'm not used to that. That's cool.
Is it the one that
Yeah, okay. Don't.
She controls the horizontal and the vertical.
Don't.
Tanya is the outer limits.
Yes, I am.
All right.
And it's funny because Mrs. Frederick, the actress that plays Mrs. Frederick, I've seen her in 2 episodes of NCIS this week because she's in NCIS New Orleans.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was this crossover. It just happened to be this week. I'm like,
And does she play Mrs. Frederick?
She should.
no,
She's
she's a
everywhere.
She really
medical-
should be Mrs.
she's
Frederick
she's
in
a
anything.
medical
Fantastic.
examiner.
She's a
She's
fantastic
great.
Oh,
actress.
she's
I
oh,
love her.
she's a great character actress.
Yes.
Yes.
She's able to
Absolutely.
come in and just adapt to whatever personality is needed, and she has this whole level of, you can tell she's like, I don't care if you like me or not. You know, she just throws it out there, and she has that great stare. She does that 1,000-yard stare at somebody, and they're like they break.
It's like
You can
5,
feel it through the TV.
4,
Oh, yeah, you do.
3, 2. You're like, okay, she's got that evil mom stare.
Now, Claudia Donovan, who plays Allison-Scagliotti, is actually not in.
No, Alice
Strike back, reverse
Scagliotti
it.
plays Claudia Donovan.
Whatever. Whatever.
This
All
is
right.
what happens when Chris doesn't get enough sleep.
Oh,
You're
seriously,
definitely-
last night was rough. I couldn't get to sleep. When I did, I came right back awake. And when I was actually passed out, I was having these weird, freaking horrible dreams. Yeah, there she is. She's freaking hot. Allison.
Blow that picture up.
Love her. And, and Claudia is just so.
Meet her in an X-Wing.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Katy Perry in an
Katie,
X-Wing.
she's, kick Katie out. Hit the ejector seat. Put her in there. Put Allison in the cockpit.
Who don't you have a crush on?
Rob.
You lie.
Rob, you and I, back when we were in Fisher together, we had that relationship that almost could have been like the two Illinois Nazis in the Blues Brothers movies. You know, if we were in that Pinto coming down from 10,000 feet, I would have looked at you and go, I always loved you. You know, it's gonna be one of those.
His real crush
It's gonna be
is
one of those
Billy.
days.
His real crush is Billy.
Yeah, I have
Really?
I have a strong bromance
Nice.
with Billy going on.
Yay.
Best
I just
reaction
want to
ever.
be loved. Is that so wrong?
That's not
No, it's
wrong
not
at all.
wrong.
That's what
Doesn't
we all
your
want
new
as
kitty
human
love
beings.
you?
Yes, he does.
What's his name? Oliver.
Oliver.
Oliver the Great Kitty. All right,
He's cute.
I was off the subject somewhere. Off the
Something
rails?
about Allison,
Oh, yeah.
ejector seat, and Katy
But
Perry
anyway,
in an X-Wing.
Claudia was not actually in the first few episodes, so you don't see her in for
No.
the diehard, long-term fans. You look back and you forget sometimes that she was not actually introduced right off the bat. Yes, Sherry,
Episode 5,
episode 5.
which was called Claudia.
Yes, and I like the way they introduced her too. It was kind of funny, and I'm wondering if it was one of those things where they planned it that way, or
Well,
if
they started. Artie first noticed the intrusions into the computers in the first episode.
Okay, so
So they were bringing her in.
They were bringing her in from the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yes.
All right, and then I'm assuming then because of that they were planning on keeping her regardless
I
at that
would
point.
imagine so.
Because you see some characters. Excuse me for a second. You see some characters like Felicity Smoke and Arrow. You wonder. You can kind of see that the character was probably meant to be like a reoccurring one-off here, there, one-off there, but becomes a regular because the first impression on the fandom was so intense.
Yeah.
Fonzie.
Yeah, Fonzie was not supposed to be a regular character for Happy Days.
Bobby
Klinger
on,
and Mash, yeah.
Bobby on Supernatural.
Bobby
was
on
supposed to be a
Supernatural.
one-off.
Exactly. So
Actually,
these characters. Yes, go ahead, Dolly.
What's his name? Urkel.
Urk-
Was
yes.
supposed to be a main character.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
He was supposed to be
I
like
never knew
a
that one.
guest character.
the show eventually became
Steve
about him.
Jamal.
Yes.
Yeah. So my first thought was I was wondering if Allison was supposed to be brought in just basically for this one episode, or for a series of episodes, and then kind of fade off. But then she, was such a fan favorite that they brought her back. But I'm thinking, overall that the plan was always to introduce her this way.
Yeah. She was somebody to play off of Artie.
Yeah. Yeah, you needed that because then if he was going to be the man in the van all by him little lonesome back at the warehouse while the other two, there's going to be an issue there, some along the line. All right, so in the pilot we have already established that our two main characters of Pete and Micah, they knew each other. They were not exactly thrilled with each other, but they were both Secret Service agents working to protect the President of the United States. And through a variety of circumstances in the first couple of scenes, they are noticed by Artie and then by Mrs. Frederick, and then brought into the warehouse fold. So as far as origin stories go, I like this one because, it kind of takes a moment to set everything up, but it does it more quickly. I mean, I know we've talked about this in other podcasts where we've been inundated with with origin stories and backgrounds, and sometimes the first couple of episodes can get lost in establishing characters that we already want to see in action doing the thing they're supposed to be doing.
Plus, in a lot of TV shows, what they do is slowly tell the character's backstory.
Yeah.
You don't need to give them all the information all at once in a TV show.
Well, and Artie actually knew who they were before.
Oh, he'd already done his research on them. Yeah,
Right.
he knew
Before
everything
they
about
even-
them. Yeah, not that they knew him.
Right.
Well, I liked that it was very organic. The information we are given is given in a way that makes sense. It's not just an info.
It wasn't forced.
It wasn't an info dump. It was, oh, you know what I would really want? Yes, I do, but was falling off the wagon really be a good thing? And that's how we found out that
Pizza recovering alcoholic. Yeah. What do you think, guys? Anything?
Well, like
I
you
think
said,
one of them's hooked on leverage now. So,
well, yeah, both of us are. But,
so after watching the first episode, do you want to keep watching Warehouse 13?
I'd run through it again. Yeah.
I still think that idol in there looked like a Doombot head.
All right, but you were going in, Zach.
But no, like you said about the origin story. Yeah, and sometimes you don't need to just throw everything immediately at it. Sometimes
Right.
It's nice that we, as the audience and viewers, can draw a conclusion, see if they're going to take us the way we think. Sometimes they do, a lot of times they don't. It's like, okay, because it kind of makes us a little more emotionally invested in it.
Right.
And I think we like mystery a little. It's like I think Wolverine like that, where nobody knew who he was.
Right.
And you keep bringing it
They've
out
pulled
slowly.
the veil off of him on a couple of occasions
Yeah.
now, and I think that might have actually taken away from the
It
character
has,
a little
I think
bit. I
so.
think so. Yeah. All right, what do we got going on? We got scroll going on over here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the full summary and things.
Can you
like
give me the episode 1? There you go. Thank you. You just did that. Awesome. She was like under there. So anyway, so 2 Secret Service agents being recruited against their will and without their knowledge to partake of this little misadventure. And what do we get off of Micah? What do we? Because she seems to be the perfectionist, but with something that went really wrong. Is what we're being given the hint of at the beginning.
Right. Something happened in Denver.
Yeah, Denver seems to be a trigger.
And it's not really acknowledged more so until like towards the end of this episode of what happens in Denver. And yeah, she's definitely got a lot of guilt surrounding that episode, that situation or that crisis or whatever, and she's haunted by it.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So, so she's still trying to keep everything put together in here, but things are starting to unravel around her, and she doesn't know how to handle it. That's why she keeps going to food.
Okay. I didn't notice that part.
You didn't notice that?
I did not
she's
notice
like,
that.
I don't eat sugar. She tells Artie in the first thing because he's like, "Oh, we make cookies." She's like, "I don't eat sugar."
But then she was eating a cookie.
Right,
Yeah,
because
and then
she'd been
ice cream
haunted.
later.
Then she had been haunted by the sound.
Oh,
of
I remember the
that
scene where she went in and then came out with the ice cream. And,
right,
yeah.
and it's because she had kept hearing this voice in her head, and she's like looking around, and that's so when there's a stress trigger, she starts eating.
And Pete even commented on it.
Yeah, Pete does comment on it when he sees her eating the cookies.
Oh,
It's like,
right.
What's bothering you or whatever type thing.
And that's one of the things I like. The pilot is an hour and a half long, and that's before commercials. So I watched it without commercials, so it's an hour and a half. So you really get a good first look at these people in action. I'm going to say right off the bat that there are some times where you take an hour-long TV show and you make a 2-hour episode out of it, and it can drag. In spots sometimes, and it doesn't have a good flow. But this one kept my interest all the way through from start to finish.
Well, what they did was they introduced the characters for the first half, the situation. You're going to be working at this warehouse.
And then the case.
And then it was almost like they could split it up into 2 episodes in syndication.
Right. That's a good call. This is some planning involved there. But I did like the way that this, in essence, 1.5-hour warehouse movie to start things off with. I like the way that it unfolded.
Yeah, it didn't even seem like it was an hour and a half when I was rewatching it
No.
yesterday.
No.
Yeah.
It's good pacing.
Yeah. And and you can get it. You can get it on DVD. You can get it. Buy it from your favorite DVD shop, or you can go to the local library and rent it, borrow it. I got it off of YouTube because I have my YouTube subscription, and so it was only $1.50 for $2 to get the actual episode into my library. $20 for the whole season. I think it was what it was. So.
Yeah, I bought it off of Amazon. Prime.
Amazon. See, so there's a lot of access to it. It's not on Hulu or Netflix at the moment.
It used to be.
Yes, it was.
It was on either Amazon or Netflix at one point.
It was on Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah, it was on
not,
Netflix.
but not the entire
No, it was
series.
It was
like
seasons 1, 2, and 3 but the fourth one wasn't.
Yeah.
I do actually.
Did it make
have,
to season 5? I don't think it made
No,
this.
I think it
stopped
ended
at 4.
after 4.
It was already in trouble.
no.
There's 5.
There's a 5. There's
I
a 5th season.
have seasons 4 and 5 on DVD at home because I was able to get 1 through 3 somewhere, and then.
And it's a show that was canceled before its time.
Yeah,
There could have been a season 6 to wrap the story up, I think, but
See, I'm going to have the unpopular opinion that, I mean, like a couple weeks ago, we talked about Leverage, and I immediately wanted to see more episodes. This one, thought it was fine. I enjoyed it enough. You know, if it was on during the era of 3 networks and no streaming, I'd probably watch it every week. But in this case, it's probably not something I'm going back to with everything else that's already in my life that I have to watch.
Is there something in particular, or just a vibe? One of Pete's vibes. Sorry, did you see me throw that in there? Okay.
Sort of a vibe, I guess. But the 2 main characters grew on me, and I liked Artie almost immediately. They grew on me. The writing, I don't know if it's just first episode blues or something.
Okay.
The cheesier effects didn't bother me at all. You know, that's fine. I don't know. It just didn't grab me enough in that first episode to continue watching.
All right.
No, I agree. I mean, I think it's just for me, I would give it my 4-episode test and see if I go forward.
You definitely have to make sure Claudia comes in.
Get at least to the 5th episode.
Okay, 5.
Yeah, because you have to bring Claudia in because
once she changes the dynamic of the room
comes in.
To me, the relationship between the 2 characters, I don't know where it's going, but it seemed very Sam and Diane.
Yeah,
David and Maddie. They love each other. No. They hate each other. No, okay.
They don't actually ever bond, do
Never.
they? No, they
Oh,
never
really?
do. They
They're
managed
best
to.
I would have.
They become
friends.
best friends. They really do through the course of the seasons, but I don't even think they hint at it.
No.
That's interesting.
Which is something
to know.
I really liked. That's something I liked. I like shows where you have a male and female leads and they don't try and get them together.
That's,
Right.
I like that already. Thank you for telling me. I may actually go to it just because I saw bones happening all of a sudden.
No, it's
okay.
Because they always kind of secretly, like, is it going to happen this week? And it never did.
Because that's what ruined Moonlighting, which to me was one of the best shows ever until David and Maddie got together. So,
and then it jumped the shark.
Yes,
as
it did.
as the saying goes. But yeah, I think they always managed to keep the 2 of them just comfortably out of reach with each other. You know, they like Sherry said, they become the best of friends. They do really care about each other. But there's a love interest for Micah, I want to remember.
There was a love interest for Pete for a while.
Pete, okay, all right. Yeah.
And he got really serious with her, but she backed off.
And you'll find what Micah's love interest, what happened.
Right.
there.
And I think that also affects it. The gentleman that she keeps seeing in the first episode, what happened with him, really, and that comes back again and again.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it later on than the first episode.
A whole episode about it.
Yeah.
Well, the
about
guy,
what
I can't
happened.
remember who
About
played
what
that
happened in
particular
Denver.
part, but he's like, I've never had this is the most success I've ever had playing a dead man. Was he said in an interview or something like that?
I may have
To the sheet.
To the sheet.
I may have him. I didn't print out everybody. I printed out people with geek cred that were on the show. And he may not have other geek cred, so I may not have him.
All right. Stranger things have been known to happen.
Season 2?
I didn't get to actually watch the show, but I did like research and read about the show, and it reminded me of the Librarians.
Yes, it
But
does.
like the movie, I saw the movie series first, it was a 3-part series, and now they just came out with the television series. And us reading about Warehouse 13, I saw the similarities like right off the bat.
Well, Librarians and Warehouse 13, did those movies start coming out at the same time Warehouse 13 did?
Hold on.
The
With
movies
Librarians?
came out,
Yes.
I think,
Before.
yeah, they came out
Yes.
before.
They come up before?
And then Warehouse
Yeah.
13, and then the Librarians TV show came out.
After Warehouse 13
Warehouse
went down.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked it up.
Oh, sorry. Do I not have?
No.
You're nowhere near a microphone. There you go.
The librarians did make a couple of comments. I caught them. They're small because I can't remember the main character. He goes, "Yeah, it's bigger than the other
Flynn
guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's bigger than the other places. You know,
like they're
there's
kinda
more
hinting
artifacts."
that they took over for the warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the
okay.
librarians
The
came out
warehouse
in,
was like the storage unit for them or something.
on 2004, 2005, and 2008, and Warehouse 13 came out in 2009. Are you laughing at Chris behind me?
Yeah.
I have a thing here that says Warehouse 13 show is a one-off from the show The Librarian's Quest for the Spear TV movie. They even had the same artifacts and each used magic and technology to keep the artifacts from being tampered with. This is more apparent in the series, The Librarians. So they do.
I was just watching Chris's emotion of heartbreak as he realized he was out of coffee in the background there.
I was wondering, like, why you're almost falling out of your chair.
He's very expressive, these men of the theater. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So, all right, where are we in talking about the actual episode?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
We were just making references to
I think it's how we're handling this one too.
how the characters are
Evolving already.
throughout just this.
There's a lot of
episode.
skepticism. They have a lot of healthy skepticism.
They're like, yeah, okay,
Pete's a little bit
right.
more ready to believe than Micah is.
And it reminds me of Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
It gave me an X-Files feel between the two characters because Mulder
he's more ready to believe than she is, and she's the skeptic.
Feet first. And
I've always said this show was a cross between the X-Files and Eureka.
and it's
set in the same universe as Eureka.
And Alphas.
Alphas, really?
Alphas is in the same universe. In fact,
I did not know
Lindsay
that.
Wagner plays a character, a doctor, in Warehouse 13, and she plays the same one in an episode of Alphas.
well, and
The same character.
Yes.
And
That's impressive. I did not know that they were that linked.
And the Claudia Donovan character is actually in an episode or two of Eureka.
Well, yeah, I knew about Eureka and Warehouse 13 crossed over regularly.
In
And
Eureka,
Douglas Fargo.
crosses over into Warehouse 13.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
But I haven't seen Eureka yet, so.
I think we're going to put
I haven't.
Eureka on the list of things to talk about in the future.
By the way, it's Gabriel Hogan.
Gabriel Hogan is the
Denver guy?
The ghost.
The ghost, yes.
It's the most success he's ever had playing a dead guy. I remember that interview because there was some sort of Warehouse 13 thing, and he was in on it for a little bit. So, all right. Dolly, did you get to see it?
She said no, that she researched it.
You researched it?
No, but I did a lot of reading on it.
All right. Tell me what you read.
Well, I actually read about the actual warehouse itself.
Uh-huh.
I'm short, and this mic is too high.
Okay. Do the best you can. That's all I ask.
Sorry. Yeah, but I did read about the actual warehouse and like the origins of it, and the fact that whoever has the world power at the time is who has the warehouse located there.
Right.
And it's like not the first rendition of it. That's why it's number 13.
Right.
So I found that all interesting. Like, I definitely piqued my interest, but I just didn't have time to actually.
And I know throughout the series they make references to a couple of the other warehouses. Like there's a
They
whole
even go
episode
to
dedicated to
Yep.
12.
They go to
They go to
one.
yeah.
I read that
Find a
Artie
bunch of
thinks
the
that
old
all of them were burnt. All the previous ones are burned down, but I think Warehouse 2 actually wasn't burned down. It was buried
Right.
before Caesar could get there.
Right. I remember that episode.
Yeah.
So
And-
I found it interesting. I
Yeah.
did a lot of
Yeah.
reading about it. I just didn't have time to
Because
actually
Warehouse
watch.
7 is in the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan. Warehouse 8 is in Germany
Okay.
during
Wasn't one
the.
in ancient Egypt?
Yeah.
If I recall
Yes.
correctly?
I think the first
That's,
couple.
Two. Okay.
Wasn't it 2? Wasn't that the one they went to?
Yeah.
That's the one in ancient Egypt.
Pretty sure. of that.
Warehouse 1 was under Alexander the Great. Warehouse was moved to Egypt, after Alexander died. And then it says Egypt's rulers appointed a group of people known as the regents to oversee the warehouse and act as its first agents and collectors of artifacts.
Yeah, it's been England, Russia, Asia,
Italy.
Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Rome.
So it's a well-traveled idea.
Warehouse of stuff.
The warehouse stuff. And I will tell you, as a veteran gamer, I every time I get into a Warehouse 13 binge, the DM in me is writing a Warehouse 13 campaign.
Great.
I can tell you, it's in my head that there's aspects I think would just be. It would make for a great. I don't know if I would do it. I'm not sure if I would do it in D&D or maybe like top secret, like modern day kind of stuff.
And this is the
Maybe like
second Warehouse
room escape
13.
thing. One of the room escape things.
Yeah, there you go.
Warehouse 13.
And,
That would be
and
good.
this
You
is
guys
the
are listening.
The
Yeah.
second of the Warehouse 13s. There's been 2 of them.
There's 2 13s?
Yes, because the first one burnt down because it didn't have an understanding of how to safely store the artifacts.
So why isn't it just Warehouse 14 then?
They
There's a sequel.
It's 13 beta.
2.0.
Yeah, because after England, it moved to South Dakota to hide it. But then it was built in 1898, and I think Artie made reference to
he does that
in the first
pilot.
episode.
Yeah,
but the
he
structure
says in 98.
burned down, and he goes 1898.
Yep.
And the rebuild and the current Warehouse 13 occurred in 1914 on the onset of World War I.
Okay. And I love throughout the whole series, and
they have
does
warehouse expansion joints. That's why it looks so much bigger on the inside.
Gotcha.
It's a TARDIS.
There you go. Because why not? Because everything cool is.
It's a giant bag of holding.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. But I also like how the little stories, and you get those little stories throughout the course of the series. But with the little go-kart that they were driving around, and they have to hold on to the bar because it's using the electrical current in the human body, and Artie fires off this little story about Thomas Edison built it as a proof of concept to Ford, and Ford wanted his oil and this, that, and the other thing. And I love the little anecdotes and the little stories that they come up with through the course of the series about how these particular items were crafted and created and how they came about. And Tesla and Farnsworth and all these names from our history, and how they have these great little stories that are not just fantastical but believable too, because you would almost, because Tesla had this great reputation for being, in essence, a maniac. He was very unhinged, but that's what all the stories say about him. He was just, the way he looked at the world was different. And so a lot of these little things that he's come up with, and a lot of these little stories that they've talked about, you can believe them because they're good current to the character that they're referring to, or the personality they're referring to. So I love those little drop-ins.
And do you know that Mark Sheppard is a recurring cast on there?
Mark Sheppard is the Kevin Bacon of the geek world. He really is. If
7 degrees of Mark Sheppard.
If you say, seriously, 7 degrees of Mark Sheppard. Serious.
Absolutely.
That's a future episode.
There you go. You know what that is? That's a future podcast. We're going to do 7 degrees of Mark Sheppard, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 7 degrees of Mark Sheppard. And because seriously, if you're at a convention and you got this person goes, "Oh, I'm one of the ultimate geeks ever," and you show a picture of Mark Sheppard and he goes, "Who's that?" That
You're
person
like,
is not a geek, not a nerd. Kick them out.
They're
it's done.
fired.
They're fired. Go away.
Geek card.
That man is everywhere.
Yes.
He is everywhere. He is like the universal constant of the. Yep. Little monkey girl in the background was making the observation that he what was it? He was in everything, but everyone's been on Charmed. Yep. So Charmed is the 8th degree of Kevin Bacon. So
Mark Sheppard?
there's a podcast to be had there.
I think so.
That's coming up. So
Everything Mark Sheppard's been in.
Everything Mark Sheppard. Mark Sheppard is the center of the geek universe.
That would be a great episode, though.
It
Because
would.
I love him.
He's been in Star Trek, right?
Yes.
He's been in Battlestar Galactica, Doctor Who,
Been in Firefly.
Supernatural's the obvious one. Yes, Ian?
Doctor Who.
I know the name. I've heard him before. I just can't picture him.
Crowley in Supernatural.
There we go.
Okay.
and there we have it.
There we have it. Ding, 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 ding. All right. So now
X-Files. He was on X-Files.
he was in X-Files. And now here we are.
Leverage. And Leverage.
And Leverage. He's
Of course
He was in Leverage. Why not?
He's everywhere.
We'll just buy it back.
Chris says that he's under the desk right now.
He's under the desk right now,
He could
Really?
be,
handing us
Yes.
notes.
he could be outside.
Oh,
He's
Mark
everywhere.
Sheppard is this is where I've been.
Yeah.
This is where I've been.
All right. So was he was in Warehouse 13 at all?
Yes.
Mark
Okay.
Sheppard, yeah.
Mark
He's
Sheppard.
a recurring character.
Season
Okay.
2
Season
and then
2.
guest seasons 1 and 5.
All right.
He's
So he'll be
he's
in
a regent.
Okay. So we're going to circle this back around to what we were talking about, which was Warehouse 13.
Well, because it says Benedict Valda, so it must be like a Roman.
Ian, can you
regent,
go
right?
into your
Something like
backpack
that.
and hand me
British.
the black bottle,
No.
please? That one that you've been drinking. I'll take the other one then.
All right.
And stop pounding on the table.
We were talking about Warehouse 13?
Yes, I know. We're doing one of those tangent things. I think this is becoming a digression episode that is masking itself as not a book club episode.
Even talking about Warehouse 13, you talk about everyone that has been on the show.
Right.
I mean, Brent Spiner, Kate Mulgrew.
Lindsay Wagner,
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Michael Hall, Anthony Head.
Oh,
yes.
Yep.
Renee.
Oh, his episode was great. Yeah.
James Marsters.
Okay.
Let's see. Jerry Ryan, Tricia Helfer. Gareth David Lloyd was on Warehouse 13.
Who's he?
That's Yanto from Torchwood.
I was going to say, I know that name, but I couldn't think of why.
Missy Pyle from Galaxy Quest.
Awesome.
Oh, Missy Pyle.
Sean Mayer and Jewel State. Both on.
Tia Carrera.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I know, right?
It's like the
a
Love
veritable
Boat.
smorgasbord.
It's a sci-fi
It
love
really
boat.
is. Amy Acker. Oh, by the way, have you heard Amy Acker's got a new show coming up?
No, I did not hear about that.
Yeah,
Tell me more.
she's
Tell me more.
It's in the Marvel universe. It's
Really?
going to be on Fox.
Is it the what? Gifted?
Is it Gifted? Is it the X-Men?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's the Gifted.
She's playing the mother.
Oh.
Yeah, I figured you'd be excited about that.
Wait a minute. It's on Fox, though?
Yeah.
Is it the Friday night death slot?
I have no idea.
No, I think it was on Monday.
Oh, Sean Meyer.
Yeah.
Sean Mahar.
Sean Mahar.
Simon
Yes.
Tam.
Yep.
Simon Tam, you've been bound by law. No, not today.
Let's see. J. August Richards talking about.
Who's that?
That is.
Name sounds familiar.
He was an Angel. He was Gunn in Angel, and
Yes.
he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay, I know who that. Yeah,
Yep.
I knew that as soon as. Yeah, I could see his face.
And one
I
of my
couldn't think
favorites, Timothy O'Munson.
Right.
I love him.
Lassiter from Psych.
Yep.
Bane from or Kane. Excuse me, Kane from Supernatural.
And he was in Gallivant.
It was in
I
which was a
adored.
great
I
series.
adored
It was
Gallivant.
fun.
God, I wish they would
Also,
still make
Timothy
that.
Timothy does voice work for Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO. The soldier line. He's the lieutenant, the cat with the bald cat guy.
Okay, yeah.
And you know,
Or
with,
first companion
with
you get.
all of these amazing people that were on this show, do you know who I got the most excited about when I saw him? Joel Grey.
That's true.
I love Joel Grey.
Classic character actor, star of stage and screen.
And dance.
And dance.
The fifth host of The Muppet Show.
The fifth host of the Muppet Show.
he
Not
was.
that's a thing.
Yeah, and
It's very important
Jennifer
to be
Grey's
fifth.
father.
And Jennifer Grey, baby from
Yes.
that really they are
Yes,
related.
that's-
I never knew that
yes,
until just
that's
now.
his daughter.
That's amazing. That explains the shape of her face. That's awesome. It's very distinctive. That's not an insult. I think Jennifer Grey was gorgeous.
It's the most random, like description of somebody.
Well,
that explains the shape of her
in
face.
in the immortal words of Han Solo, Dolly. In the immortal words of Han Solo, hey, it's me.
The spacing of her toes is outstanding.
No. Because you can look at similarities. You can see, you look at this mug over here, and I'm pointing at my son, and then you look at me and you're like, okay, you get it. There's distinctive qualities
Your
to
face is
somebody.
gonna freeze
Yeah,
that
I
way.
see it between Monk and Chris. You know,
My niece says she
You know?
has my face all the time.
What's that?
My niece says the same thing. She's
Yeah.
like, I have your face. I should have been your child.
But Jennifer Grey, until she did the nose job thing, had this very distinctive, very very unique looking, and she was gorgeous. She still is. I'm not saying she isn't, but it's very. And you're like, wow, how does that come about? What ethnicity, et cetera. Now Sherry gave me the missing piece to something I've been thinking about for years.
Do you want to hear a total tangent? My favorite piece.
Tangent is something we're good
my
at.
favorite piece of Joel Grey, Jennifer Grey trivia. Okay, when Joel Grey was the host of the Muppet Show, he sang a song from Chicago.
Okay,
Razzle Dazzle. he
gotcha.
sang.
Yeah, classic.
On Broadway, Jerry Orbach played that character and
the
sang
late great
that-
Jerry Orbach.
Yes, who played Jennifer Grey's father in Dirty Dancing.
Well, that's random.
Wow. Wow.
The things that I have stuck in my head. Is
Obscure
kinda
trivia.
scary.
You hear it here first on Monkey Business. Very nice. I got
And I
the,
thought
I got
you
the
had
very white
obscure
voice going now.
trivia.
Those
My
smooth,
mother has
sultry
always
tones.
called me the walking encyclopedia
Yeah.
of useless knowledge.
That's it.
Well, you'd get
That's
along
it.
fine with my husband Randy. He's the fountain of useless knowledge.
As my dad said, if it doesn't make me money, I know it.
I
like that.
think that's everybody on this panel. We're good at that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're all
But
pretty much
I've also
The ones on the couch also.
the ones on the couch. Also, yeah. We should get together and do just the fountain of useless knowledge trivia book.
actually
Watch me play Jeopardy.
Yes, you should.
idea for future episodes.
Yes.
One right after the other. The most random things you know.
Oh my God, that would be fantastic.
just an hour of hour of trivia.
Just an hour of going back and forth with a whole bunch of.
Wilma
"Oh, I
Flintstone's
didn't know."
maiden
I would
name is
win.
Slaghoople. Next.
I would win. Teenage boy.
Gilligan's first.
I'm getting that episode of Star Trek Next Generation in my head where the senior crew had to go to this outpost where they knew that this particular base commander was used to having cocktail parties, and they were all dreading it because this man was just like the ultimate small talk expert, and he would just drown you. And just you couldn't enjoy the party because this guy would always want to talk to you about a variety of things. And Data, on the way out, decided to study the human art of small talk. And so in this episode, the whole centerpiece of this particular thing was this party, and there's Data and there's this base commander having a small talk conversation, and Riker was just staring at it like, I can't believe this is happening. And he and Geordi even share at one point, they've been at it for 3 hours. I never thought it was humanly possible. It's just, well, I knew this. And did you know? Oh, well, that's very interesting. Did you know this? And the two of them were going back and forth with this just random trivia and just minutia of conversation. And it's like, there's nothing meaningful going on here. But Data's having the time of his life. So
he's fitting in.
Oh, no. There are no such thing as a normal conversation with you, Dolly.
Nor you.
I would never actually suggest that there was.
Not all can be the voice of reason like I am.
Well, yeah, they're okay. Oh boy. All right.
I've been watching some of your Facebook posts, and they're just like going, woo!
I actually had a thought. T-shirt, Matt Shepard, because Lance Henriksen can't be in everything.
Okay.
No, Mark Shepard.
That shows you the
reason. What were we talking about? Were we talking about
Warehouse 13?
Warehouse 13?
About the 12 degrees of Mark Shepard.
That's it. I think
and
that's
then
really
everyone else that's been in there.
That's it. And Mark Shepard's not even in the episode that we watched for Warehouse 13. He's not even in it.
His spirit is.
No, it's his spirit. It's the spirit of Mark Shepard.
To get the background of the TV series, you have to start with the pilot. It's not like the Black Mirrors that we've seen that you could watch any of them that they're standalone stories or even.
You got to get the flavor of what's going to happen.
A lot of their stories are standalone unless there's like a common thread going between them.
And and then there are times where Warehouse 13 will go on to be episodic. It will have its Artifact of the Week award winner. It'll have its subplots and its beeline stories and things like that. It'll have the story arcs that will carry it from episode to episode. What is it about this? I'm going to go to Sherry first. What is it about this particular story, this particular TV show that kept you coming back to watch it over and over again? And then Zach, I'm going to come to you about that.
I would have to say it was the relationships between the characters.
Okay,
they weren't insta friends. You got to see how they developed this caring for each other to the point where they were a family, and I really liked that about the show was that they were believable.
Okay,
because you saw it happening.
Yeah.
It wasn't like something like a Next Generation where you're just like one day they're never met before and the next day they're
all best friends.
They're all best friends. No, this you saw it happening. And there are arguments and fights and tiffs and
like a proper team would have. They get in each other's face. It's not always perfect.
Plus the artifacts were just so cool.
I know. I like it. The backstory of everything was always interesting to me. Go ahead, Zach.
Pretty much what she said. It is like a family in that you have the stern mother, Mrs. Fredericks.
Right.
You have that crotchety old uncle, Artie.
And then the kids.
That makes cookies.
The kids, the older brother and sister combo, Pete and Micah, and then the little baby that came around is maybe the baby. But,
the baby.
And it's fun to see the dynamics change as the show goes on, the characters grow because, at the start, you look at Artie, it's like, oh, this guy could be on, like, Uncle Don's bowling team.
Right.
But then it turns out Artie's, very, very resourceful, kind of a badass. Yeah. And then to see him playing off of Allison-Scagliotti.
Oh, that's my favorite. Together. That's my favorite relationship in the whole show.
Yeah.
Though I did love when they brought on Aaron-Ashmore, his relationship,
and that's not
Claudia.
Iceman Ashmore. That's Sean. This is Jinx. This is the other Ashmore, the twins. I get them confused.
I know they look exactly like. He was on. Aaron was on Smallville.
Yeah, and Aaron is now on Killjoys, which I've recently discovered and recommend highly. I've only watched the first couple of episodes, and I'm like, this is a good show. There's something really cool about it. So the Ashmore brothers, they are crazy identical to each other. Yeah. It's scary identical kind of twins.
I have to look it up. Okay, which one is this?
Yeah, I know. There's
Dylan and Cole Sprouse.
Yeah, Dylan and Cole Sprouse. They look like brothers, but they're not. They don't look like twins. They
not
just
anymore.
Not anymore. There were always some very vast differences between the two. I mean, you could always tell they were brothers, but twins was a piece of work.
No, but the Ashmore twins are.
The Ashmore twins are scary identical with each other.
Yeah.
Like apparently, one of the anecdotes is, and there's a similar one in Buffy the Vampire Slayer because the guy who played Xander, Nicholas Brendan, has an identical twin as well. So in the filming of one of the X-Men movies, Sean was not available. So Aaron stepped in to be Iceman for a couple of scenes. And he didn't have any lines or anything, but you could see him in the background kind of doing his thing. But it was actually Aaron, not Sean.
Yeah, Nicholas
You always
Brendan.
wonder if twins do that. Because, like
all the time.
Jose and Ozzy Canseco.
Yeah.
Jose Canseco got in a lot of trouble sending his brother out to autograph shows pretending to be him.
Didn't Nicholas Brendan's brother call himself Brendan Nicholas?
No.
No,
he had an entirely different
totally
stage
different
name.
Stage name. He is not really an actor. He doesn't really do much, but there is an episode of Buffy that they're both in.
Yeah. Because, Xander got split into good Xander and bad Xander, so the twins were called on to play both parts.
Wasn't that the case with...
The guys who played Fred and George, they had to redo a bunch of scenes because they decided to see how long it would take them to realize that they were
switched.
They'd switched. For those of you who could not hear because Little Monkey Girl was away from the microphone, she was regaling us with an anecdote about Fred and George Weasley in the Harry Potter movies and how the twins actually would switch between the part and see who would actually notice how long, because they would end up having to refilm takes because Fred was actually not Fred, it was George, and vice versa. Okay. Yeah, see, twins are evil, but entertaining as all hell.
Wasn't it also in Terminator? Didn't Linda Hamilton?
Yes.
Yes. Linda Hamilton had a twin sister.
With her?
Well, yeah, when they did,
she was do stand-in work.
When they did, because she became so buff in the later films, when they were trying to show her earlier, they used her twin because she was much softer looking because she hadn't been working out.
So there we are again. This is definitely a tangent day.
But that's okay.
How are we doing on time, Bill?
41 minutes.
41 minutes? All right. Let's see if we can...
Are we going to label this one Warehouse 13?
Yeah, we're going to... It's not a book club, Warehouse 13 and other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has a tendency to jump us into other stuff that's similar.
And that's, I think, one of the really cool things about this show is that it opens the doors to a whole lot of different conversations because of the people who play the characters, because of the situations they're in, because of the similarities to other shows, things like that.
No, it should be not a book club, other stuff, and a little bit of Warehouse 13.
Yeah, okay.
Warehouse 13.
Well, we're not going to worry about how we're going to label this right
Dan
now.
and I will worry about titling later.
Yes.
Just right now, let's finish. Let's get through the freaking recording.
Okay, I have a couple more pieces of trivia.
Go for it.
Them.
Trivia away.
In this episode, they were going through the questions, and the last one that she couldn't get past was do you smell fudge in places where there is no fudge? That actually comes back 2 more times.
Yes.
Where it actually is a thing. It is not just a random question.
So they do callback?
They do callback.
That's a hallmark
with that
of a
one.
good show when a writer can do a callback to something else. Like Babylon 5 was the preeminent king of callbacks.
Yep.
But,
in fact, in the first season, Micah will say that she smells fudge. And another one that I thought was interesting was this is not the first time that Brett Spiner and Saul-Rubinek have worked together.
Star Trek Next Generation.
Yes.
Saul-Rubinek played the collector, and Data was his ultimate prize.
Absolutely.
That was a great episode, too. To the Most Toys or something. I can't remember the title.
Toys.
The Most Toys.
Yes. And
Uber Geek.
Do you want us to name the year?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It was early on. So
1990.
Because you looked it up and I have it in front of me.
I was about to say 89, 90 somewhere because it was one of the earlier seasons.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And last thing this one I thought was actually very interesting was that the Eddie-McClintock and Joanne-Kelly actually had a lot of say in their characters.
Really?
They helped create their characters. It was McClintock's idea that Pete should be a former Marine and love comic books, and Kelly asked for Micah to love literature and be a bookworm.
That's cool.
And I think that makes it even better when the actor
personalizes
the character to something personal to them because
then they can
then
bond
they're really
with that.
going to get into it.
Exactly.
And really make it more believable.
Well, Micah talks about right off the bat how her family came. They owned a bookstore, and you see that bookstore in other episodes down the road. You meet the family. What am I looking at over here? Trivia.
Oh, it's just the trivia stuff that Sherry was talking about.
Scroll down just a half a click. Pete, Micah, and Steve discuss the artifact being cursed by an actor who Shakespeare didn't like, due largely to the fact he improvised too much. The writers likely inserted this as an in-joke aimed at Eddie-mcclintock, who was notorious for forgetting his lines and improvising his way out of trouble on a regular basis.
That's funny.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
Me either.
that's awesome. I can see that, too. And here's another throwback, since we're going all over the place today. In Stargate SG-1, Christopher Judge, who played Teal'c, was well known for forgetting his lines, and so that's how Teal'c would just stand there and go, "Indeed," and it became a thing where they would start writing it in. So that would be Teal'c's response. His go-to response to anything was "Indeed," just like, "Yeah, I'm going with that because I don't know what I'm supposed to say next."
Now I understand a lot of your text messages.
Yes, I have.
Now I get it.
I have on my phone a JPEG in
Of
the
that.
whole, like, the Obama Hope poster. It's Teal'c doing "Indeed," and so whenever the Mighty Monkey Corp board of directors were texting each other and whatnot, and I agree with whatever was just said, I just send that image. So there's all they get
Sometimes that's all
Teal'c
you
going
need to
"Indeed." So that's my thing.
Indeed.
All right, so where are we in the episode? Did we actually get past the first quarter of the episode? No.
We didn't discuss Lucretia Borgia or
No.
We
any of
didn't.
that stuff.
Nothing. Nothing. We've done nothing.
Well, it's like we're just dangling that carrot in front of everybody else to
God.
actually go watch and see what we're talking
Okay,
about.
as I was watching this with my wife,
Uh-huh.
let me watch. At one point, no, you see when Artie is first touring the two around the warehouse.
Yes.
No, they got that little car that they both
Right.
have to hang on to. And then later in the episode, Artie, not repels.
Jury rigs.
He's
The
got,
zip line.
He's got
Zip
the
line,
zip line to go from one end to the other.
Yeah.
And Susan goes, "How come he just didn't use the car?"
No, but he does,
don't-
but
does
he
use the
does
car at the
use the
tail end.
car towards the tail end when
Yeah.
he's putting bringing the painting back somewhere.
But
And
my thing was, at that point, he really had to get there fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that car was not exactly quick.
And he had to jury rig the car
With the battery.
battery in order to power it because he didn't have Micah or Pete with him.
Right.
So
Does the ferret thing keep coming back?
Yes.
the ferret stays around.
The
for-
ferret, the ferret pops
It
up once in a
actually,
great while.
that ferret becomes a,
family member.
yeah, but it becomes actually a plot point in one of my favorite first season episodes.
Okay.
So look for that. I now have to watch
I
this
really
whole
thought
show
that
again.
she wasn't going to enjoy that, but then she goes and rips the cage out of Pete's hand and brings it in. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay.
So what did we establish we established the characters, the first relationships, we established the bed and breakfast that they're going to live at.
Establish that I want to go clean Saul's office or Artie's office.
Artie's office.
Because that was driving me
Artie's
nuts.
office
I'm sorry.
is chaotic mess. Yeah, that's true.
Mom.
Yeah, I know.
And then it gets worse and worse.
Yes, it does, especially when Claudia shows up. So yeah, and then we have our first case.
You get a little hint of Lena.
Little hint of Lena that there's going to be some stuff going on with her.
I like it when she brings the wallet out with the tongs
Yes,
and drops it into the neutralizer.
Houdini's wallet. Mm-hmm. I think it's what I love the most. It's like, and I said this at the beginning of our episode. I love the anecdotes behind the items. You know, no item is just left on the shelf for display purposes. Everything had a little story to it, and it was always you could always tell somebody put some thought into the crafting of every artifact that went in there. And I wonder if the writers sometime just would order a bunch of pizza, bring in the beer, and just start going, let's start just creating artifacts. We're not going to create episodes. We're just going to create artifacts for the fun of it. Yeah, and some of their best episodes came forth from them.
There's an entire Wikipedia pages
Yeah.
of artifacts, and it'll say whether it was actually in an episode or if it was just
Created for the fun of it.
that you just kind of see it as they're going past something else.
I love it.
I want, bring out the beer and all right, take somebody from history. What would make sense to them?
Right. And that's the thing. And I make reference to that earlier in this episode, is everything that they have crafted, and I know this is the entire run of the show, everything they craft has something, it makes sense to the person who was behind it.
Yeah. It's not just they're like, oh, well, we haven't used this guy, give him, this. No,
Right.
It actually makes sense, something that they would have. That
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's a question. I'm looking at the Wikipedia for the pilot episode, and it says that pilot marked the first series debut of SyFy. It was the highest rated It was the most watched cable show of that night with 3.5 million viewers.
Wow.
Was there something? Did they extra promote this show to grab a first night audience that big?
I do remember a lot of it, and I think Eureka was out already at this time, and I think they did a couple of hints in Eureka because Eureka was already popular on SyFy Channel. Okay. So when they kind of touted it as a spin-off of Eureka, that you automatically get a pre-programmed audience because people who are fans of Eureka were already prone to go, okay, we want to go see this too then. And if I remember correctly, Eureka was on before Warehouse 13 or just after. They were tied to each other on the schedule. I may be wrong in that one.
I don't know. I know we watched Warehouse 13 right from the beginning, but we didn't watch Eureka.
I think Warehouse 13 was on first, and then Eureka followed.
And Eureka followed?
If I remember correctly.
Okay.
Like at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock or however it would work.
Okay.
But I do remember that they did tout it pretty heavily because that's why we decided to watch it, was because we kept seeing really cool previews. And we're like, okay, gotta watch that.
Like, oh, this looks interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would be interesting to figure out and count the number of artifacts that they mention in each episode. Because there's 13 in this one that it says 13 every episode. They say Warehouse 13. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't even think of that.
But it would be funny because it's like they have the Bloodstone, and then they have the Tesla stun gun, and then they have the Farnsworth communication system, and then the football that gets thrown.
Yeah.
And then the vehicle, the wallet, the tea kettle, the calendar, the comb, Pandora's box, and then the wand that you have no idea what it does.
I love that the main characters get so used to these artifacts that later seasons they'll use them for fun.
Yeah.
Like, I remember late in the seasons, I can't remember which one, Pete is playing ping pong.
Oh, no, that's in the very next episode.
Is it? Is it the really next episode?
Ping pong
With himself.
With himself through a mirror.
It's a mirror.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's awesome.
It is the... I just saw
Lewis Carroll's mirror.
I haven't... I know.
Yeah,
It's been a
There's
while.
always going to be that
Looking
one
glass,
character in every show
What?
that
It would be
is
the
the.
looking glass.
There's always going to be that one character in every show the audience relates to that character, so you're going to see the show through that character's eyes. Like in Doctor Who, the companion was always meant to be, the filter that the audience gets to see all of these adventures that this Time Lord goes on. So my thought was always that in Warehouse 13, Pete was that guy because Pete is just freewheeling. And you never know where he's going to go next because Pete doesn't even know where he's going to go next. And he because you could see somebody like me playing ping pong with myself using the magic mirror. I'm the kind of guy who would go through Warehouse 13 like Pete would. Some folks are going to identify with Micah, but more people are going to more look at it through Pete's eyes. I'm going to be like, wow, this stuff is so cool. Let's have some fun. I don't care if it's about to be apocalyptic.
And then when Claudia comes along, and she's changing artifacts to do other things. That I found really interesting.
That was definitely very interesting.
Yeah.
So
let's combine this one and this one and this one, and it's going to do this entirely new thing.
That's where it gets a little scary.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, on the Pete thing, if you were put in a place like that, who wouldn't go around and play with stuff?
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean,
Micah.
seriously.
Micah.
Yeah.
See,
but like any one of us. Like I would have destroyed probably half the country just on accident.
And then go, that was cool. Let's see what this one does.
Man!
Let's do it again. Yeah. No.
Bye, Tennessee.
I think I'd be more along the lines of Micah, where I would be very hesitant about stuff.
Yeah. We're the Micahs of the group.
Yes.
I'm just clumsy, so I might accidentally just take out a country just by bumping into something. Like, oops. Yeah, that would be me.
That would be Jules.
Jules, yes, my daughter.
I'm clumsy too. I accidentally pressed all three of the buttons at the same time.
Whoops.
Yeah.
All right. So the bottom line is as we were saying earlier at the beginning of the episode, there's like 3 acts to this. They introduce the characters, they introduce the premise, and then they give you the first case. And the first case involves the Borgias, and you come to find out that the artifact is a hair comb that was, as Billy had made reference to, owned by Lucretia Borgia back in Italy. And what was it? The 1500s was the Borgias?
15th century.
1400s. And it transmitted that bloodthirsty, that very ruthless view of getting what you want out of things. And so this was how it was affecting this. Again, a small town, and you're seeing how it was imposing its will on the people around it, and how everybody was getting all wrapped up, and it was becoming cataclysmically, exponentially worse. And just at the big finish is when our heroes come in, Pete and Micah come in, and they're able to neutralize the artifact. Now, up until this time, they were still fairly skeptical. They were like, okay, this we can just kind of like look at this as regular, crime investigators. And then Pete was a little bit more prone to believing. Micah was still the stoic, nope. There's reasons for this. There's logic behind this. There's this is the way things are going to be. This is how we're going to figure this all out. And then as it unfolds, and they deal with the artifact, and they see how neutralizing the artifact fixed everything, and they're a little bit more ready to believe. They're a little bit more hooked. Both of them are a little bit more involved now. They're more prone to. Micah, I still think at the end, Micah was still a little more hesitant. I think she was not as sold. Where Eddie was already playing with the football.
No, she was given the opportunity to leave.
Yes,
that's right. Okay, yeah.
Dickinson
showed up, and on the call, and
Mm-hmm.
you could see that she was thinking about hanging out a little bit longer. But I think it took a little bit longer for her to get to that moment where Pete was pretty much already all in.
Toys? What?
Toys, things to play with.
Yeah.
So.
See, I never thought the football was an artifact.
It is.
I thought it was something about the area.
No.
And it wasn't the football.
The football itself. And the football
that.
gets its story in season 4 opener.
A New Hope.
A New Hope. Episode 4. Season 4.
Season 4, A New Hope.
Yeah. So.
What's the story behind that one?
I don't remember offhand, but we're gonna have to watch that one to make sure. Because I want to rediscover this series.
It's about a thing of rebels getting
okay.
It should be a new Hope instead.
Come on! Don't you know A New Hope?
So
I thought, can we take his geek card away?
Really?
Dad had a new hope to clean my room, but
yeah, no, that hope is dashed.
yeah.
That's hopeless.
Hopeless. All right, so what more do we want to say about this episode?
I don't know. I think Billy needs to give it a couple episodes in order to.
I might. Sure, I've got the DVD set for another week anyway.
There you go. And your fears were allayed in knowing that it's not a Sam and Diane vibe.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
And I also, one thing I did like, and it reminded me of a show that I was very fond of as a kid, Kolchak the Night Stalker.
I remember hearing about that. I don't think I've ever watched it, but I've heard of that one.
Darren McGavin is a reporter investigating the weird, basically.
Okay.
And I just
How do you spell that?
Kolchak, Kolchak.
It's the dad from A Christmas Story.
Yes,
it is.
McGavin.
He just passed away recently, didn't he?
A couple years ago.
Oh, was it a couple years now?
Yeah.
I thought it was more recently than that.
That show scared the heck out of me when I was a kid. I used to watch it.
And he was referenced in the X-Files.
The bully from A Christmas Story was on Warehouse 13.
Oh, was he?
The redhead.
Scott Fargus.
In the pilot episode?
No.
No.
No, later on. What?
There's a throw.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be at Scarecon.
Ooh, and that's in Syracuse?
Yeah, Zach Ward. His name
Zach
is.
Ward.
Verona.
Okay.
Turning Stone Casino.
Turning Stones. Okay. Very cool. All
That's
right.
the one I've been trying to get you to bring the kids out to.
Gotcha. Final thoughts? Anybody? Bueller?
I don't have any regular
I'm hooked
thoughts.
again.
No, back
Final.
in 2009 when this first came on, it was this episode that got me hooked to watch the whole series.
There you go.
So,
And I do like, again, about the artifacts, is there's going to be people out there, wow, I'm going to read more about this. And it's always promoting knowledge is a cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
like,
is.
who
That's
was
I've
this
seen that.
Tesla, and why would he do this?
Yeah.
He's not the band?
Unlike
Signs everywhere. Signs.
and the reference to H.G. Wells.
Oh, the whole H.G. Wells story arc is amazing. Yeah, that right there, that right there hooked me. Oh, and
Oh, that happens all the time.
Alana, are you okay? You just headbutt the column there. She was so excited about the H.G. Wells storyline. So that alone, dear listener, Alana risked life and limbs to inspire you to watch Warehouse 13 just for the H.G. Wells story arc. My friends and family out there, and Danny. So we're making sure you're still listening, mate. All right. So from one end of the globe to the other,
Fall
we're
off
going to
the
wrap
deep
this
end.
one up. This has been Monkey Business. Let me know when he got to playing the out cue music. So
He is.
He is playing the out cue music. And this has been Monkey Business for yet again, and a product of the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic-Con, coming at you June 9th and 10th of 2018. But sooner than that, we will see you at the Grieschwitz Center Mall September 23rd and 24th
In the
for
theater wing.
FC3 Mini in the theater wing. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Fish.
As soon as you said so long,
You knew
I
it.
said thanks for all the fish.
Yes.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.